Hi guys, you're very, very welcome. I see I have a few regulars have come back and joined me in the audience, so you're very welcome. And for those that are new, I'll just introduce myself, and we're here to look after heart health. But basically, my name is Nichola Flood and I'm the Queen of Health. Within the industry of over 20 years experience of working in coaching, working in retail, and also in health and nutrition. And I really found my passion for nutrition through my own health and seeing how the body can actually heal itself from the inside out. And when you start to see that, you kind of go, okay, well, how do I treat my body? How do I look at it from an holistic point of view? So it's not only the food that we eat and the drinks that we consume, it's also our mindset and body, and our stress levels. And the last 18 months has been chaotic for everybody with stress levels, emotional. And I was just talking to Saoirse there, and we were talking about come 22nd of October and things are changing again. I'm finding with a lot of my clients that there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. A lot of my clients are on antidepressants now as a result of everything they've been through. So now what we start to see is the outcome of what COVID has caused on a mental and well-being perspective for people. Even myself as a nutritional advocate, there has been times over the last 18 months where I've even found the battle of the emotional and things surfacing, and even food and diet, where people think, Nicola, you've got it all going on, but sometimes we have to rein ourselves back in and use that 80-20%. And really what I want to share with you today is maybe some hints and tips around obviously how to look after your heart, but when you start to look after one part of the body, it'll really have loads of benefits and outcomes for other areas of your life as well. So guys, in the chat box, I'd love to hear just why you're here. Is there anything specifically that you'd like to learn today? Obviously, I'm going to be talking about nutrition and the heart and how we can support it and prevent ourselves from getting heart disease. But is there anything in particular that you guys are interested in on hearing? And we'll see if maybe I can cover that off as well as we go. I'd love to hear. Don't be shy. I like to keep it as interactive as I can as we go. And if not, look, just sit back, relax. And as I said, hopefully I inspire or motivate you to take one or two things on board from today's session. Okay, so we have a question in them, calorie counting, if possible, to talk about that. So remind me at the end, and if we have time, we'll pop that in as one of the things around calorie counting. Okay, so do remind me, Sally, around that. Great question. Okay, so let me take off my camera so you can have total concentration on the slides, and we will kick in. So just let me ask, and I will push out and ask, some questions out there that you don't have to, answer out loud or in the chat box. It's just for you as a private way of really gauging and connecting in with yourself today. So the first one that I'll ask you is, when was the last time that you felt 100%? Okay, so just ask yourself, when is the last time? Maybe you feel 100% now, maybe it's been a while since your batteries were fully charged, and maybe you feel a little bit de-energized over the last 18 months. But really, why I ask this question and why it's really, really important, because every newspaper we open now, every time we turn on the telly, social media, it's talking about the downturn in our health, all these things that are going on with our health. But when we look at people's lifestyles, so desk jobs, busy lifestyles, fast food, this is destroying our health, and it's leading to stories like 8 out of 10 people are overweight, drink too much, or get too little exercise. But the reality really is that we're not taking good care of ourselves. And one of the things, if you've heard me speak before, I'll always talk about putting on our own oxygen masks first before we look to anybody else. And it's one thing that we start to do is we run and we tick box and we move forward, and before we know it, we're run down, we haven't been looking after ourselves. So really the reality is that we're not putting on our own oxygen mask first. And there's some key questions that have a huge influence on our overall health and wellness. And I'm going to just do 2 quick questionnaires with you guys. So hopefully you have a piece of paper in front of you. and a pen, and you can answer these. These are private to you, but just to kind of give you a gauge of where you are at. So the very first one that I'm going to ask is well-being and relaxation. So what you give yourself is 1 point for every A, 2 points for B, and a C. Okay, so just tick them as we go, and then I'll give you how you can add up. Okay, so the first question is, how much time do you take each day to focus entirely on you? None of the day. Occasionally, I might sit down to read a book, sit quietly and listen to music or relax in the bath. 30 minutes a day or more. So have it just tick which one is relevant to you at the moment. Would you describe your life as busy? A, my life often feels busy and or chaotic. B, yes, but no more than anyone else's. And C, no. Question number 3, how stressed do you feel at the present moment? A, I'm stressed to the hilt every day. B, I'm stressed in certain situations. And C, I'm pretty laid back. Now, choose the degree to which you agree with this statement. I have high self-esteem and belief in myself. Would you disagree, agree, or strongly agree? And then choose the degree to which you agree with this statement. I always sleep well. Disagree, agree, strongly agree. Okay, so go back and add up all your answers. So A, if you're giving yourself A, it's 1 point for every A, 2 points for every B, and 3 points for every C. So let me just give you some minutes there to add those up. And you can let me know in the chat box when you've done that, just a yes to let me know so I don't move on too fast. Okay, so we've one person finished. I'll just wait another minute. And then I'll, okay, 2 people are ready. You can let me know. And I know some people might have access to chat box, so don't worry. Okay, so let me just go back with this, the overall. So if you scored 0 to 5, there's 0 to 5, 5 to 9, and 10 to 15. So if you want to just pop in the chat box what you scored, and we can home in then to see. So either 0 to 5, 5 to 9, or 10 to 15. Okay, so I can see coming in this kind of some high score. So let's start with the 5 to 9. So it seems like sometimes you can be trusted to take care of yourself, and at other times that you're right at the bottom of the list of priorities. One of the key pillars of health and a feeling of well-being is sleep. If you didn't score that nearly always sleep well, it's worth having a mini sleep audit to see where you would tidy up your bedtime routine. Ideas for improving your sleep quality include going to bed at a similar time every night, avoiding stimulants, the coffee and tea late in the day, having a phone curfew at least an hour before going to bed, avoiding watching TV in the bedroom, and reading a little to wind down. And it's one of the things that I find with my clients is people are scrolling before they go to sleep, or they're watching TV, and our cortisol levels start high in the morning naturally. And let me just come back on there. As you know, our cortisol levels will start really high in the morning, which they're naturally meant to do. So it's our stress hormone, but that's to give us energy and to get us moving. And as we move throughout the day, that cortisol naturally goes down. But if we start engaging in, news and maybe say Netflix, and you're sitting at the edge of your seat kind of moment, your cortisol is encouraged to go back up, and it means you're not sleeping. If you're scrolling at nighttime, it means that your sleep can be affected. So one of the tips that I give to my clients is if you can actually put your phone on airplane mode, your alarm will still go off if it's true that, and you'll still have a good night's sleep. But what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to share this. I know Saoirse will be giving an email to all participants afterwards. And there's a full book on this, and there's different questionnaires. So there's another one which we won't do today, but there's another one called How Fit You Are. There's a health and wellness around your nutrition, and that's all in that free book that I'll give you guys. And it'll give you recommendations, and it'll help support and hopefully give you some goals to see where you're at the moment, and maybe to put goals in place to see how you can actually improve that. So let's have a look at some of the studies around heart health. So the InterHeart study, published in the Lancet in 2004, it followed 30,000 people in 52 countries. And researchers found that lifestyle changes could prevent at least 90% of all heart disease. And then the EPIC study in 2009 looked at how 23,000 people adhered to 4 simple behaviors: not smoking, exercising up to 3.5 hours a week, eating a healthy diet, and maintaining a healthy weight. So by sticking to these 4 behaviors alone, it prevented 93% cases of diabetes, 81% cases of heart attacks, 50% cases of strokes, and 36 cases of all cancers. I had a client who came to me with type 2 diabetes, was overweight, metabolic age. He was 50 at the time, his metabolic age was 72. We worked on just changing small things. So, you know, the 3.5 hours of exercise, changing diet, just so that it worked with his. So it wasn't a fad diet, it was a lifestyle change. He came off his medication for type 2 diabetes, and he lost weight, and he reversed the type 2 diabetes. So again, looking after the nutrition, getting exercise in, and mindset will all help in parts of the jigsaw. So we have to remember that we have 50% chance of dying from heart or artery disease. And it is an epidemic at the moment that's in Western world through diet, lifestyle, and environment. So the good news is it's completely preventable. But the widespread in this epidemic is almost that we take it for granted and we fail to protect ourselves. So we see the likes of the degenerative diseases as, oh, I'm getting old and these are the expectations. But really, 83% of us, by the time we reach 60, will have one or more of the degenerative diseases if we don't look after our health up until that point. So we can reverse, we can add 10 years onto our life. As I say, your health is like your savings account. What you're doing now at the moment is really helping to top up that savings account, because you don't want the bank manager come knocking on your door and say you've no savings left in your health, and suddenly you've got one of those degenerative diseases. And what most of us do, and I see it with my clients as well, is we put a plaster on the symptom. So maybe, you know, I might have a headache and I go reach for the paracetamol. But why don't I reach for the water? Or is it stress that has brought that on? What is the reason? What is the underlying reason, as opposed to putting that plaster with a paracetamol till I come another few weeks and the same thing happens again? So really knowing that the body, our engines, when we fuel it right, it's going to work right. Like a brand new car, you're not going to not get that serviced or clean it regularly. But our bodies we take for granted, and if we don't look after them, we're going to have nowhere to live. So really listen to your body. The more in tune you are with the body, those niggles, those, you know, inflammation or aches and pains, the body is trying to tell you something. It's trying to say, hey, listen to me. I just want you to support and find out what is wrong. So there's nothing natural about dying from heart disease. Deaths from cardiovascular disease reached a peak in the 1960s, and then the death rate has remained high and is reducing very, very slowly. Heart disease is still the #1 cause of death globally, and most people die annually from cardiovascular disease than any other cause. The most worrying fact is that it's starting to occur earlier and earlier. Already this year, I know 2 people in their 40s that have passed away because of a heart attack. But even teenagers now are showing signs of blockages. And obviously this is to do with diet, environment, and how things have changed over the last 60 years. And the main measure used to indicate the level of risk would be, say, blood pressure. cholesterol levels, triglyceride levels, and homocysteine levels, and obviously blood sugar levels. And it's one of the things I mentioned, that client with type 2 diabetes, we worked on blood sugar balancing, and sugar really is it's obviously a drug in the body, and it causes inflammation, and it has been linked to heart disease. And obviously, you see pictures like this, and you kind of go, oh yeah, that looks good. But our sensory, when we smell fats and processed food, we're naturally attracted to them. That's why they use colorings and colorants, because it makes us attract. And since we've been born, we've been marketed the billboards, the magazines, and it's all food related, and we're being brainwashed around unhealthy processed foods. It's one of the talks I give is the pleasure trap, and showing how you walk into the supermarket and how marketing just jumps out, and we're not, if you're not aware of this, we're just drawn to the colors and the slogans of, I'm healthy and I'm 99% fat free. But there's many factors that contribute to the rise in heart disease. And one of the things that we would have known and connected with it years ago would be saturated fats in our diet. But this wasn't really the big factor and the cause of it, although this is what scientists believed from the 1960s right through to recent years. Fat had been related to it. There's been many recent research papers confirming that saturated fats do not cause heart disease. So it looks at the factors like smoking, so dietary changes, different fats, and more sugars, more sedentary jobs due to obviously technology and reduced manual labor, less activity. And I even find with people since lockdowns and people working from home, they're presenting themselves with more IBS, gut issues, because they've been sitting down more. If you're used to an office environment, you go to the office, you're up and about, you're meeting people, where people at home were tending to sit down for longer periods, not get up, not move, and even having lunch at their desks. So there has been that kind of sedentary lifestyle, and obviously stress levels have increased as well. So if I was to ask in the chat box, guys, out of 100%, how healthy would your diet be? 100% being amazing, I'm spot on, and 0% is it's very bad. So where would you be in a 0 to 100%, would you say? Okay, so we have an 80%, good, sounds good. 50%. Anybody else like to share, put themselves out there? Okay. Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. So let me bring you through some of the food groups, some of the things that you can incorporate and why they're a benefit to your health. So protein, if we eat a source of protein at every meal, okay, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, but your snacks as well. If you're having a piece of fruit, put a piece of protein with it. So I'll always recommend an apple and some nuts or seeds, a rice cake with hummus or some peanut butter on it. But even the protein, you know, if you're looking at main meals, it's your fish, your poultry, even nuts, seeds. For those vegetarians and vegans, it's tofu, and then eggs as well. But we can say that, you know, eating enough meat, people are eating enough meat already. You know, we've probably gone from 1 a day to maybe 2 to 3 times a day of eating more meat, but we can try and get more fish and vegetables in. So ideally eat 2 to 3 vegetable-based protein meals a week, and replace your animal-based protein meals with lentils, tofu, quinoa, nuts, and seeds. So if you're a fish eater, getting wild caught fish, which is rich in omega-3s, and omega-3s are amazing for obviously heart health, but brain health, and the brain is 65% fat, and we need to refuel that every day. And some of my clients will ask, Nichola, why am I getting brain fog? Why can't I concentrate anymore? And when we drill down to the amount of proteins and fats that they're getting in, they're actually not getting enough of the good fats in. But proteins, think about, you know, having the plant-based proteins as well as the animal plant proteins as well. Fruits and vegetables. So there's a question that's just come through there. It's a good question. Thank you, Sally. And it says, what are your thoughts on protein powders or shakes? Are they proper substitutes? So for me, with my clients, I would incorporate one of my smoothies called the Funky 5 smoothie. And if anybody would like the recipes, they're more than welcome, and I'll give them to Saoirse as well. But with the Funky 5 smoothie, I'll always push for a good quality protein powder. There's so many on the market that are fillers in there, additives and sugars. I always go for plant-based proteins because obviously they're made from plants, and I make sure that they're sweetened with stevia or xylitol, so a natural sweetener, not aspartame, not sucralose, none of those additives. And with my Funky 5, it is a meal replacement for breakfast, because most of my clients, when they get a Funky 5 into them, they're getting proteins, fats, greens, superfoods, fiber, which they're probably their other meals are not giving them to them. So if you do a protein powder, you need to make sure it's a reputable source, and it can be a great snack if you are caught out too, but it has to be good quality, and adding in some spinach and other factors to it can really, really help as well. So good question. Now with fruits and vegetables, we used to say eat your 5 a day. So I'm going to push you guys to 7 a day. So we need to get plenty of fruit and vegetables, but we need to be eating vegetables that grow above the ground and fruit that can be grown in our own countries. Because think about how we're not eating locally sourced in season organic foods. One of the things that I see as well, that people are deficient in selenium, and Ireland has the highest level of this mineral in our soils, but we have the highest level of deficiency because we're going to the supermarket and we're buying fruits and vegetables from other countries. And with selenium, it can affect the thyroid, it can affect energy levels, fertility, and it's that this is how different minerals and supplements are actually being affected there. Another question came through: what brand of protein powder do you use? The only one I found that tastes nice is that protein. And one that I found that I really love, and it's everything friendly from raw to keto to plant-based, is Sun Warrior. Is a really good one that I found, because yeah, some of the plant-based ones do not taste nice, but that's one I use their vanilla, and I use their berry as well. So when we look at fruits and vegetables, getting them in, so half your plate should be either a salad or veggies or both, and a quarter of a plate is protein and a quarter of a plate is your complex carbohydrates. But we really need to be getting 7 portions of fruit and veg in a day, 5 being your veggies and 2 being your fruit, believe it or not. So fiber, if your bowels are not moving every single day, it's one of the things that I'll ask my clients is, are your bowels moving every single day? Because it's an indicator of inside your gut health, your microbiome, those good bacteria within the gut. And you need to be moving every single day. But we need to get, and if they're not, or you want to really just help and support your gut microbiome, what you need to be putting is a soluble type of fiber, like your oats, your lentils, flaxseed. I love flaxseed. I had a client who was going to the doctor for 20 years on bowel medication to help her go to the toilet. We made one simple change to her protocol, and that was to put a tablespoon of milled flaxseed over her porridge or her salad every single day. And she's off her medication now, and her bowels are moving regularly. And that's bringing it back to nature. It's really going back to the basics, where we've lost touch with let food be thy medicine. Obviously, there are certain things that we need to take and be supported with, but we have lost that touch with nature and with those foods that can actually help and support us. Going back to fats, so the good fats, some of the fats are healthy. And another thing that I'll coach people on is to avoid those fat-free or low-fat this, because when they take the fat out, they put the sugar in to make it taste nice. We need to have good fats. We need to have the likes of nuts, seeds, avocados, oily fish, and make sure that you have a portion of any of those going in every single day, because as I mentioned earlier, 65% of your brain is fat, and it needs to be fueled every single day. And good fats won't make you fat. It's the bad fats that we see in this picture are the ones, the culprits that are causing all those degenerative diseases. And carbohydrates, so more than ever, carbohydrates are on the increase. We can go into the supermarket, the petrol station, and all we smell is the cooking food and the high carbohydrates. So we need to think carefully about what we are. It's quality over quantity, and a quarter of your lunch and dinner plate should be good quality carbohydrates. And you can even replace dinner time carbohydrates with your cauli rice, or your zucchini, you know, the noodles that they make, and just to reduce that, because when we're taking in the wrong types of carbohydrates, so the likes of donuts or white bread or those type of sweet and savory kind of things that we always put in there if we're looking for a go-to, they increase our blood glucose levels, they rocket our blood sugars, and this is where people become out of balance and where they're like a yo-yo effect of up and down because of the carbohydrates. It's a glycemic load, so it's looking at the quality over the quantity of the carbohydrates that you're actually popping into your diet. And processed meats, so you know, the likes of hot dogs, salami, and tinned meat have really had you know, some really bad effects on our health. And obviously processed meats can have a negative effect on heart health, so it is best to try and avoid processed meats as much as possible. When you are picking up packet deli meat, make sure that you turn it around and see what's the percentage of actual meat. Read your labels, make sure that there's no fillers and what else is added in there to make it stay longer on the shelf. So yeah, watch out for the processed meats. And then we've got vegetable oils. So vegetable oils can be very, very damaging for heart health. And one of the things I'll do with clients when I get them into my clinic, standing on the scales, we look at the overall percentage of the fat that's in the body and see how they're performing with that. But recent study shows that like the likes of, say, rapeseed oils are not helpful. Sunflower oils, all of these, and they're loaded in the supermarket. When we look at olive oil, so olive oil is good for heart health, but it needs to be used cold pressed, so a tablespoon over your salad. We don't cook with olive oil because it can become rancid. Yes, Andrea, there you go. So I answered that as your question came in. Are cold pressed oils better than non-pressed? Yes, so cold pressed oils are brilliant. The likes, as I said, your olive oil, and using it cold pressed over your salad. So it's one to look out for. And sugar, the biggest culprit. So, you know, my recommendation, and this can be really hard for people if you've gone from a high sugar diet and trying to remove it, is just to remove as much sugar as you can from the diet, because this is really the real villain in everything that we're speaking about today. So that means, you know, having ditching those breakfast cereals, the cakes, the cookies. You're going to hate me now, guys. Pastries, and just check the labels of sauces and where sugar actually lurks. And it's one of the things I'll coach my clients in, is how to look for sugar, how much sugar is in a product. And the World Health Organization would say no more than 14 teaspoons of sugar every single day. If you look at some of the leading caffeinated fizzy drinks, some of them can have up to 14 teaspoons in just one bottle. So we have to be really, really careful. And there we go, fizzy drinks. So if you can eliminate these fizzy drinks, a lot of them are laden with controversial chemicals and unhealthy ingredients, and they are brimming with added sugars too. So let us look again, just to recap on all that. It's a lot of information going in on how we can actually start to love our heart. So eating plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables. As I said, my Funky Five, as you can see here, this is the smoothie bowl version. There is the smoothie, and these are all homemade, that people get the ingredients, the recipes, and they make them themselves, and they become part of their breakfast. And it just makes sure that you're getting that fresh fruit and veggie into the body each day, so your body doesn't have to think about it. It becomes alive and awakened because you're giving raw, natural ingredients. And then if we look at free radicals, can damage artery walls. So this is how plaque forms and oxidizes the cholesterol into the plaque. Antioxidants that's in our fruits and vegetables, especially the dark blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, all of those disarm the free radicals, and they also will stop them causing damage. So think about that with your portions of fruit and vegetables every day. Every time that something goes in that's good for us is oxygenating the body and giving us more of that health savings account that I spoke about. The fiber then, obviously in the fruit and vegetables, oats, nuts and seeds, I've got fiber in there, which gathers up used cholesterol in the gut and helps to excrete it before it's reabsorbed. And that's why I mean, having those bowel movements every single day is really, really important, because not only are you getting rid of cholesterol, there's those stress hormones and different things that are accumulating in the body and they need to be excreted. So sometimes I'll work with people just to do a liver cleanse to make sure that the liver's working, the bowels are working, and everything is working the way it should be. Because although our body detoxes naturally, certain situations, and we've had a bad diet or stressful situation, the liver can become a little bit congested, which can stop other bodily functions from working properly. So also the fruit and vegetables, our nuts, our oats, they're also good sources of potassium, calcium and magnesium, which are really important for heart health. And believe it or not, a lot of us are deficient in magnesium. One of the key indicators of magnesium deficiency is you're not sleeping properly, or jumpy leg syndrome at nighttime, or when your muscles lock up constantly at nighttime, that painful experience that we have. Avoiding the fizzy drinks, so replacing your fizzy drinks and sweetened ones. Moderate your salt, obviously 3.5 hours of exercise each week. Don't smoke. Lose weight if you need to, just to get yourself to that ideal weight for your height, and avoid prolonged stress. Know your blood pressure and have your blood lipids checked every 5 years. Consider a more detailed cardiovascular health blood test, and if you think that you may be at high risk. And obviously we can take a good multivitamin and mineral, vitamin C and omega-3s, oil supplement every day as well. So omega-3, any of the oils, you have to be very careful. Any of the vitamins, you need to be careful too, because if somebody is on blood thinning medication, they need to be really careful, because omega-3s can naturally, that's why omega-3s are really good for the body, because they naturally thin the blood. So if you're on a blood thinner already and then you go in with your omega-3s, you're going to cause yourself harm. So you need to, obviously, if you're on medication, always can talk to the pharmacist or the doctor just to see before you embark on anything. People will always ask me, Nichola, should I take a multivitamin or a supplement? And I would say, you know, if your diet is 100% organic, naturally sourced, in season, you're eating the rainbow of colors, half your plate is veggies and fruits each day, which 99% of my clients is not, including myself, because it can be hard every day to do that. I'd say there's certain times in the year that you can get a good multivitamin just to top up that health savings account. Use turmeric and ginger in the cooking, because these are antioxidants and they're amazing to relax us and also to reduce inflammation. So we have 1 or 2 cloves of garlic every day, or a garlic capsule. It reduces the blood platelet stickiness, so their ability that, you know, stops that stickiness there, and it promotes healthy blood pressure, cholesterol and triglyceride levels. And food and lifestyle changes are the game changer that you need to rediscover your power and really to support your heart health. The action plan, guys. So now that I've kind of given you a synopsis of a very 1 to 10 pit stop run of health and nutrition, you need to be clear on the most pressing issues and take action to improve one area of your health at a time, okay? Because it can be very overwhelming. So do eat oily fish and seeds. So, you know, if you're a vegan, a vegetarian, you're not going to eat fish, but you've got to make sure that you can supplement or getting the seeds in. So essential fats reduce triglycerides, lower bad cholesterol, and increase good cholesterol and reduce inflammation. Eating those fresh fruits and vegetables, antioxidants that will disarm the free radicals that damage artery walls. Eat plant steroids, so not the ones that come in already processed products. Eat the natural ones like soya, almond seeds, oats and beans. So these will bust your cholesterol levels, and obviously keep fit, lose weight if you need to, keep an eye on your blood pressure, take a multi-omega and vitamin C every day. And obviously, as I said, caution you if you're on any other medication or if you have any underlying issues, always check in with your doctor or your pharmacist. Use turmeric and ginger, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and they're antioxidants. Eat garlic every day because it's going to reduce that blood stickiness and promote healthy blood pressure. And you probably know the don'ts. So don't add salt, smoke, get stressed. And it's easy enough to say don't get stressed. But when we get stressed, cortisol levels rise. We've got these stress hormones going on in the body. And if we're not getting rid of them quickly, so if you're not excreting them from the body, they can lurk around and they can cause adrenal fatigue, and they can cause all sorts of different things going on in the body. Don't eat processed food and don't eat saturated fats. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you today, and hopefully I've inspired you to make one or two changes. As I mentioned, I will give Saoirse the book that you can do your own little questionnaire. There's probably 5 different ones of different elements of health and wellness, and you can see then where you need to make changes. You can find loads of those funky 5 recipes on my website, www.thequeenofhealth.ie. It's on every social platform as The Queen of Health. And look, if you have any private questions, do reach out at info@thequeenofhealth.ie.